And now let's shift our focus to Iran. Protests continue over the death of Mahsa Amini, as does the Iranian regime's brutal crackdown. But for the first time in years, cracks seem to be appearing among Iran's ruling elite. Our next report brings you the details.
Iran is protesting the death of Mahsa Amini. The 22-year-old is said to have died in police custody. What was her crime? Not wearing her hijab properly. Public anger has erupted all over Iran. Women have been burning their hijabs, cutting their hair in defiance. From schoolgirls to grandmothers, Iranian women are demanding their rights. The right to wear what they want. A chant is ringing out all over Iran. Women, life, freedom. Another chant is also common: death to the dictator. Iranian protesters have been clashing with the regime. The Iranian state has unleashed a wave of repression. Reports say more than 200 protesters have been killed. The Iranian regime is known to stifle dissent. The ruling elite has been united against all protests in the past. That seemed to be the case this time too. Besides a violent crackdown on protesters, the regime said that Amini died due to a prior ailment. It has tried to discredit Amini's family. Iran has blamed the US and Israel for the protests. It has called some protesters agents of the enemy.
Some of these persons are elements of enemy, and if they are not, they are in direction of the enemy. They go to the streets with the same goals as the enemy. Some of them are not with the enemy. They are just emotional.
Whatever the methods, Iran's ruling elite has presented a united front. Until now. Ali Larijani, a former parliamentary speaker, has broken ranks. He warned the regime not to pursue an extremist policy. He has appeared as a voice of moderation. Before we look at what he said, let's look at who he is. Larijani has been a key figure in Iranian politics for decades. He served as Speaker of the Parliament of Iran from 2008 to 2020. Before that, he was a brigadier general in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. He even fought in the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. Larijani is neither radical or revolutionary, though it should be noted he was barred from standing for the presidency last year. Iran's Guardian Council deemed him unqualified, but reports claim it was for another reason. It was because he posed a real challenge to the current president, Ebrahim Raisi. Now let's look at some of his comments during an interview with an Iranian news site. Larijani called the hijab a cultural issue. He said that the police should not be enforcing it. He called the stringent rules around the hijab excessive and likened them to medical overprescription. Larijani also noted how people voluntarily wore the hijab before the 1979 revolution. Remember, wearing the hijab was not enforced during the Shah's reign, so he suggested letting the people manage their own affairs. Iran has seen many protests over the years, but its leaders have always stood together. Perhaps the cracks can be seen as a sign of the significance of the protests over Mahsa Amini's death. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.